Okay. Technical difficulties, everybody. It's all good. Good morning, millionaire.
Have greatness in you. Hello, this is Les Brown, and you're in the right place. And please enter your. Thank you.
Okay.
All participants are muted. Entry tones are off. Exit tones are on.
Yeah. Good morning, millionaires. Good morning, millionaires. Hold up.
Entry tones are on. Exit tones are off. Entry and exit tones are on.
Okay.
Entry and exit tones are off.
Oh my gosh. All right, man. Listen. Life happens, baby. And the whole idea, good morning. The whole idea is that you got to find a way to keep on getting better every day. That's the whole point of this. And sometimes life tests you, and your whole goal, your whole sort of like value system, your priority should be understanding how you can take this test and get better, right? This morning, I wanted to talk kind of like about a continuation of what we've been talking about this entire week. If y'all have been with us the entire week, let me see good morning millionaire in the comments. If you've been with us this entire week, let me see good morning millionaire in the comments. Who's been with us this entire week? What was your favorite class so far this week, y'all? What was your favorite class this week? Y'all know yesterday we covered the rules 13 through 24 of the universal principles. Y'all were there? The day before that, we did 5 different kinds of letters and emails you can write that'll change your life. Y'all remember that one? Day before that, Monday, we covered these 5 powerful reasons you should write down your goals. Right? When I was rocking live from Vegas. Y'all with me? What was your favorite episode so far? What was your favorite episode so far? All right, well, this morning we were talking about the ways that therapists and counselors, they tell you to handle the toxicity. Now, what you want to watch out for is the fact, okay, appreciate that, Gavin. Hey, man, if y'all ain't getting the email, I'm glad you just now said that. Today's email is going to be so cold. If you ain't joined the email list yet, make sure you do, millionaireminded.com. But a lot about you being able to create the life you want, it has to do with the people you surround yourself with and their expectations for you, right? And what we know is that toxicity is always going to be a drag. But do you know that research shows that they can physically harm your brain? Isn't that kind of interesting? A lot of times, and I just now had a real deep conversation with my own brother yesterday, because we had a situation where we were helping out, family and stuff like that, and he went and held it down. So there's a lot of pressure on him, a lot of stress on him. And I said, how'd it go? And he started breaking down how certain people were getting on his nerves, but he felt really good because he didn't buck up on this person, but with this other person, he kind of like let himself be a little bit more loose. Now, I'm changing the names and all of that to protect the guilty and stuff. And I don't want to go there because I don't want to go there. It's not my story to share. But what it did do was it allowed me to kind of segue into some things that we had recognized, right? Me and my sister had recognized. And it allowed me to have a really cool conversation with them because check this out, y'all. Sometimes we don't realize we're the toxic one. Some of us are blissfully unaware of the negative impact that they can have on the people around them. But let me tell you what you always know. You always know who's getting on your nerves, right? There are people around us that are unaware, and then there are people around us that seem to get satisfaction from creating chaos, from pushing other people's buttons. But either way, what you're talking about is unnecessary complexity. You're talking about strife. You're talking about stress. And studies have shown that stress can have a lasting, like really negative impact on the brain. Exposure to even a few days of stress starts to compromise the effectiveness of neurons in what they call the hippocampus, right? That's the brain area that's responsible for reasoning. You know, when emotions are high, intelligence is low. Well, when you're constantly under stress, watching the news, constantly under stress, you know, seeing a glass is half empty, constantly under stress, counting your burdens, not your blessings. What happens is it begins to mess up your reasoning skills. It begins to mess up your memory. Weeks of stress, because that was just days, but weeks of stress cause reversible damage to what they call the dendrites, right? The dendrites, these are the small arms that the brains use to communicate with each other. The brain cells are using to communicate, right? This gray matter you hear them talk about in the brain is this stuff that coats these superhighways between the dendrites, these brain cells that you have, right? And if you have, you know, weeks of stress, it begins to bring down the effectiveness of that. Shoot. And then months of stress start to destroy the neurons. Why am I telling you this? Because I want you to understand that you need to start looking at how you can design your mindset so that you get stressed less. You're the one that decides. I was just on a podcast the other day. Shouts out to my man Ash Cash, right? I was on Inside the Vault, and we were breaking it down. Environment is stronger than willpower, but check it out. Environment ain't stronger than your thoughts, because you're the one that decides if this environment is motivating or debilitating. You hear what I'm saying to you? Now, you know, sources of stress at work are going to be easy to identify. Like your nonprofit is working to land some grant, right? You got and they need that grant to be able to function. You're bound to feel some stress, and likely you're going to know how to manage it. What messes us up is the unexpected sources of stress. That's what takes us by surprise. That's what really messes us up. Am I right? Can I get a witness? So the ability to remain calm under pressure, the ability to be able to stay cool as the other side of the pillow is where you're going to find your ability to perform. So what I'm going to give you this morning is some effective strategies that the world class have been known to use when you're dealing with toxicity, when you're dealing with the very natural, okay? Because what is toxicity in a nutshell? It's self-absorption. And it's a very natural thing. We all have the ability to get self-absorbed. Me, my brother, my daughter, your sister, your husband, your wife. We all have the ability to get self-absorbed. Even me. Like I'm right here telling you with no shame that I'm only human. But one of the greatest gifts that you have is the ability to pull lessons out of your situations and circumstances. There are strategies that you can employ if you're down for changing your life in this way. So I'm going to give them to you. I'm going to run down 12 of them real quick. Eat the fish, leave the bones. And if you got a technique that I didn't use, that I didn't throw out there, share it with me. Because we need to be looking at this as a way to not only analyze how to deal with the other people, but also how to make sure we're not the toxic one, at least as much as we can help it. Deal? Everybody with me? All right, let's go. Here's number one. They set limits, especially with the complainers. This is according to Psychology Today. Psychology Today says that you've got to set limits, especially with the complainers in your life. Complainers and negative people are bad news because they wallow in problems and they fail to focus on solution. They want people to join a pity party, right? Like y'all heard that Drake record where he'd be like, don't invite me over if you throw in another pity party. Listen, a lot of times people listen to complainers. They don't want to be seen as rude. But there's a fine line between lending a sympathetic ear and getting sucked into this negative emotional spiral. You with me? The only can damn is to set limits, is to be able to distance yourself when it's necessary. Like this. If the smoking cigarettes, would you sit there all day inhaling secondhand smoke? Of course you wouldn't. You distance yourself. You should do the same thing with complainers. And a great way to set limits with complainers is to ask them kind of like how they intend to fix the problem. All they can do is either quiet down or redirect the conversation. If you're working some kind of business, I'm gonna tell you what you do with a complainer. You rejoice, because check it out. If they're willing to fix the problem, chances are you got a solution for them. And if they're not, you just slide on out that thing. Y'all with me? Yeah, Hadassah. I understand that. I understand that. I understand that. Y'all see that? She thought she was damn near having a stroke. And that leads me to number 2. Check it out. They don't die in a fight. They don't die in a fight. Somebody give me that. Yeah, number 1 was set limits, especially with complainers. Here's number 2. You can't die in a fight. If you're going to handle this toxicity, you can't die in the fight. You can't die in a fight. Successful people know how important it is to live to fight another day, baby. Especially when, you argue with somebody toxic. A wise man told me, don't argue with fools, because people from a distance can't tell who's who. But let me tell you what conflict does. It's a bunch of unchecked emotion. So now you're digging in your heels and you're fighting the kind of battle that leaves people severely damaged, including yourself, because you can't take that stuff back, right? But when you're able to read and respond to your emotions, you're able to choose the battles wisely and only stand your ground when the time is right, when it's a battle worth fighting. Can I get a witness? We don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You can't die in a fight. You can't die in a fight. Let's go. You got to live to fight another day. Let go and let God. Here's number 3. They rise above. They rise above. That's right, Connie. They rise above. They rise above. Yeah. Let's get it. Let's get it. They rise above. What do I mean? Y'all know how Mrs. Michelle Obama put it? She's like, when they go low, we what? We go high. Somebody give me that in the comments. We go high. We go high. Because toxic people are going to drive you crazy because it's so irrational, right? Make no mistake about it. Their behavior truly goes against all kinds of logic, right? They know that this is not going to get a good result, but then they keep on. Now, sometimes it's us, right? Don't forget, when you point one finger at somebody else, there's like 3 pointing back at you. 1, 2, 3, right? So we never going to forget that part. But here's the thing. The more irrational, the more off base somebody is, the easier it should be for you to remove yourself from their traps. Because when in doubt, you can just go high. Quit trying to beat them at their own game. Don't, you can wrestle with a pig, but one of y'all going to like it. You know what I mean? Everybody going to get dirty, but one of y'all going to love it because they're a pig. You get what I mean? Stop trying to beat them at their own game. Back up off them. Distance yourself, right? Approach your interactions with them like they a damn science project. You hear me? You don't have to respond to the emotional case. Number 4, they stay aware of their emotions. Somebody give me that. They how you handle toxicity. You with me? You with me? They stay away from their emotions. Yeah. When they go low, we go high. That's right. When they go low, we go high. That's right. That's right. That's right. But the next one is staying aware. I broke this down for my brother. I don't know how many of you have heard me kind of talk about this. I found this to be groundbreaking, but there are 5 levels to emotional intelligence, right? I won't go through all of them, but check this out. Number 1 is being able to identify your emotions. Number 2 is being able to manage your emotions. And then it keeps on going from there. But check it out. How many of us get into the thick of stuff and can't even identify what we're actually feeling? Man, I talk about this so much that I even have this like loaded up. This is like the feeling wheel right here. Y'all know about this? How often do I talk about this? The feeling wheel. Because it shows you the root emotions, and then it shows you all of this stuff that comes out from those things, right? And then on the other side of the wheel is its exact opposite. It's cold. It's cold. But check it out. Maintaining an emotional distance requires you being emotionally aware. You can't stop somebody from pushing your buttons if you don't even recognize when it's happening. When you don't even recognize what is this feeling that I'm feeling right now. If you're not able to stop and just breathe because you're recognizing that you're pumping cortisol through your veins and you're starting to feel some kind of way, and now you're about to respond. You're about to respond explosively if you ain't careful. Sometimes you're going to find yourself in situations where you're going to need to regroup. You're going to need to choose the best way forward. Well, stay aware. You shouldn't be afraid to buy yourself some time if that's what you need. If a mentally unstable person approaches you on the street and says that grass is blue and the sky is green, you're going to look at them like, are you okay? Right? Sometimes it's best to approach them like the man that walks up screaming at you about how the sky is green and grass is blue. Or they walk up to you screaming at you about how your hair is on fire. You ain't going to get into an argument with them about how your hair ain't on fire. You're going to look at them with concern, maybe a little bit of mirth, right? Maybe a little frivolity, like are they joking or what? And then you're going to move on about your day. And then if you got to straighten them out, it's better if you plan it out, right? Like, we're not just going to get into this in the middle of our day. This is a ridiculous waste of our time. And time is infinitely more valuable than money. So we're not going to waste our time. And that brings me to number 5. They establish boundaries. They establish boundaries. This is where a lot of people sell themselves short. They feel like because they work with somebody or they live with somebody, they have no way to control the chaos. But nothing could be further from the truth, right? Once you found your way to rise above a person, you're going to begin to find their behavior more predictable, right? All of a sudden, you start to understand them more, like a father dealing with a concerned father, dealing with a child, a concerned mama, dealing with a little baby, right? Now you're equipped to think more rationally because you got some distance on that thing. You hear me? You're establishing boundaries. Like, now you're working with them on this project, but you can already predict, you already know what's going to happen, right? Even though you got to have some kind of level of one-on-one interaction with them, they're not able to affect you as much because you've established boundaries mentally. Their words don't affect you as much because you already know where they're coming from. You've established boundaries. You're not letting them in like they were, right? You're deciding when and where you'll engage this difficult person. Now you can control a lot of it. The trick is to stick to your guns, keep them boundaries in place, and then when they try to encroach upon them, which they will, you stick to it. Number 6, you can't let anybody limit your joy. You can't let anybody limit your joy. Hey, you better tell them. You better tell them. Number 6 is they won't let anybody limit their joy. Yeah, number 5 was boundaries. Number 6 is they won't let anybody limit their joy. Limit their joy. Yeah, think and grow calm. Think and stay calm. That's it. All right. Number 6, they won't let anybody limit their joy. Check this out. When your sense of pleasure, when your sense of satisfaction comes from the opinions of other people, I'm going to tell you something. You're no longer the master of your own happiness. And that's got to be the definition of hell. If you're dependent on these people to make you happy, man, you tripping. You hear me? And by these people, I'm talking about your mama, your daddy, your brother, your sister, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend. If you're dependent on anybody to make you happy, if you're letting somebody else be the master of your happiness, you are tripping out this joint with no map. When emotionally intelligent people feel good about something that they've done, they're not going to let somebody else's opinions or snide remarks take that away from them. Man, this one sister was on Facebook talking about how, you know what I mean, her son had just graduated middle school and he got no awards, but she was so proud of him anyway because he checks on his friends because he's a good son. She's like, she's proud of him anyway. You know how powerful that is? You ain't letting somebody else's certification system or award system or the way that they judge and decide to give out the certificates and the trophies validate the worth that she sees in her child. She ain't letting nobody limit her joy. Y'all hear me? Now, it's impossible to turn off your reactions to what other people think about you. I give you that. You don't have to compare yourself to other people, though. You hear me? You can always take other people's opinions with a grain of salt. That way, no matter what toxic people are thinking, no matter what toxic people are doing, your self-worth is coming from your self-esteem. You hear me? It's coming from within. Learn to go within, or you're going to have to learn to go without. I'm going to tell you one thing. No matter what their opinion is, you ain't never as good or as bad as what other people think. You hear me? Number 7. Y'all ready? Number 7. They solution focused. They don't focus on problems, only solutions. Solution focus is number 7. Solution focus. Let's go. Hey, they will cripple you with love, Aisha. You hear me? They don't mean no harm. I like that, Trina. Yeah, it's yours, nobody else's. All right, so what do I mean by focusing on solutions? What do we mean by that? Check it out. Where you focus your attention determines your emotional state. Bottom line. What is emotion? Energy in motion, right? And when you fixate on the problems that you're facing, you're going to create and prolong all these negative emotions. You're going to create and prolong the stress. And that's why I went through breaking down to you the science of what prolonged stress does to you. Listen to me. When you focus on solutions, you start to create a personal efficacy, right? You start to take your character up a couple notches. Now you have more self-esteem. You have these positive emotions that reduce stress. Check it out. Even when you're dealing with toxic people, fixating on how crazy they are, how difficult they are, gives them power over you. Quit thinking about how troubling your difficult person is and focus instead on how you're going to go about handling it. What is your strategy? How are you going to plan, plot, and strategize, putting yourself more in control? And now you're reducing the amount of stress that you experience with them because now you're the master. Number 8, they don't forget. This one's real simple. This one's kind of related to setting boundaries. But what we mean by this one, energy and motion. Let's get it. What we mean by this, number 8 is they don't forget. Is that emotionally intelligent people understand it's about forgiving, but not necessarily forgetting. Forgiveness requires you letting go of what's happened so you can move on. It doesn't mean you're going to keep, giving them another chance to show themselves to be who they already showed themselves to be, right? We're not going to keep on getting bogged down unnecessarily by other people's mistakes. So we're going to let them go quickly. But what we're not going to do is keep making the same mistake. And while we can't control what they do, we can definitely control what we do. When somebody shows us who they are, we're going to believe them. Somebody give me that. When they show us who they are, we're going to believe them. Yeah, you're absolutely right. If the woman has no, the way Bishop Bronner put it, right? He was like, if the woman has no grace, there will be no peace. If the woman has no grace, there can be no peace in the home. It's just how it goes. Grace and mercy. They'll be like, she's graceful. You don't hear them refer to men as being graceful, really, right? You hear them refer to women as graceful. It's interesting. Number 9, they squash the negative self-talk. They squash the negative self-talk, right? Somebody say, eliminate negative self-talk and give me a share. Yeah. When they show us who we are, we're going to believe them. Yeah, when they show us who they are, we're going to believe them. That's right. That's right. When they show us who they are, we are going to believe them. Let's go. Number 9, squashing negative self-talk. Squash negative self-talk. Because sometimes you absorb other people's negativity and then it starts playing in your head. Again, parents, preachers, teachers, well-meaning but underachieving friends. That stuff starts to play in your head. Ain't nothing wrong with feeling bad about how somebody's treating you. But your self-talk, the thoughts you have about your own feelings can either intensify the negativity or help you move past it or help you eliminate that thing. Negative self-talk is unrealistic. You hear me? It's unnecessary. It's self-defeating. It sends you into this emotional spiral that now you can't pull out like you in a jet. This is right. It's hard for you to pull out of the nosedive. When you catch that stuff, you can't erase it. So what you want to do is replace it. That's why we do affirmations every morning. You need to go to millionaireminded.com. And when you join that newsletter list, you're also going to get the affirmations. Go do that. If you need help replacing that negative self-talk, I suggest affirmations. Here's something else. This is going to sound kind of out the box, but number 10 is you got to limit that caffeine intake. Go register for the newsletter right now. The new one's coming out at 3:30 today. And yo, I'm putting a bunch of headlines and hooks in that thing that you're gonna love. Yo, just the headlines that we putting in there, just different ways you can title your presentation. You hear me? Listen to me. Hey, Dennis, you're gonna love them joints. You hear me? Tanisha, you're gonna love it. Just the hooks and headlines section. Because every newsletter has mindset, skill set, and heart set. The skill set section, I put a bunch of hooks that you can use for presentations. I put a bunch of headlines you can use. But check it out. You're also going to get a list of the affirmations we do. So you can replace that negative self-talk. Here's number 10. This is kind of out the box, but it's true. Yo, you got to limit your caffeine. You got to limit your caffeine. I know that sounds crazy, but caffeine triggers adrenaline. And adrenaline is where we get fight or flight. You hear me? That's a survival mechanism that we all have, but it forces you to stand up and fight, or run for the hills, or sometimes freeze when you're faced with a threat. They say fight or flight, but it's really fight or flight or freeze, right? And what we do when we're in this fight or flight reactive state is we lose our ability to respond. We subjugate our rational thinking in favor of something that's much faster, something that's more hairpin, right? And that's not the best place to be a lot of times. It's good if a bear is chasing you, but not so great if you get annoyed by an angry coworker or surprised in a hallway and they come up to you yelling. You know what I mean? That caffeine gonna have you wired up, and then you might do something you regret. So just a word to the wise. And then on that same note, number 11, get some more sleep so you stay more in control. I can't say enough about getting rest. Man, I was boy, that West Coast trip, that thing messed with me. I was out there like about a week, but I'm keeping East Coast time. I'm up with us in the morning, but there is 4:30 a.m. So you stay up till midnight because the clock telling you it's midnight. You're really up till 3 a.m. And it's just like the cycle repeats. Woo! I'm gonna tell you something. I slept good these past couple of nights. But what about you? Are you getting some sleep? A good night's sleep makes you more positive. It makes you more creative. It makes you more in control of your environment, proactive in your approach to the toxic people that may come around, or the normal, ordinary, loving people who may be in a toxic kind of mood. You hear me? Now you know how to handle them. And then that leads me to number 12, which is using your support system. You got to use your support system if you want to deal with this toxicity. It's very tempting, yet entirely ineffective to attempt tackling everything by yourself. People like me hate burdening other people with my problems. I hate complaining. I hate talking about stuff, right? But I'm going to tell you something. That's why therapy has been so helpful for me. You need to recognize the weaknesses in your approach, and then you need to talk them out with your support system. You need to gain perspective by chopping it up with people that you respect. Ask them how they would deal with this challenging person. Everybody has somebody at work or outside work who's on their team, rooting for them, ready to help them. Now, some of us don't take advantage of that. We don't share what we're going through with the people around us, but that does not mean they ain't there. You hear what I'm saying to you? So here's your homework. I want you to identify some of these individuals in your life and make an effort to get their insight, right? Not them as an accomplice, because again, you may be playing a bigger part in this stuff than you're ready to recognize. So be open to that. Be open to the fact that maybe you are because a lot of us, we're our own worst enemy. Okay. But something as simple as explaining the situation can offer you a new perspective, because the way we organize our thoughts is through conversation. So find somebody you can talk it out with, but don't look for an accomplice. Look for accountability. Before any of this works, you're going to have to pass some tests, millionaires. This ain't no joke. Most of the time, you're going to find yourself tested by touchy interactions with some of these people that you consider to be toxic. But thankfully, you've got something called neuroplasticity going on in your brain. So what does that mean? That means you can mold, you can change as you practice new behaviors. Even when you fail, you can change, you can mold yourself. And implementing some of this healthy, stress relieving kind of technique I gave you that allows you to deal with these difficult people in your life is going to help you in turn become more of an example and not a warning. I hope this was helpful. I always love to hear new strategies. So if I left something out that you want to add to it, throw that thing in the comments. We want to hear from you. It's affirmation time. We went a little bit over because we started a little bit late. We ain't gone a full 30 minutes in a long time, man. So this was cool. This is cool. This Friday, baby. Make sure you join that newsletter. There's an amazing little piece on character in this thing you're gonna love. The thing that I learned this past week, I think you're gonna get a lot out of that. So I hope you enjoy that. If you haven't tried out the newsletter, try that thing, man. Millionaireminded.com. Millionaireminded.com. Y'all throw that thing in there. I love it. I love it. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Good, good. All right, let's get it. Let's get it. Crystal clear in the house. Oh, good, Morose. I'm glad you made it. Good, Jada. I'm glad it was helpful. Are y'all on the newsletter list? Y'all on that newsletter list? That's right. That's right. Man, we got a lot of resources out here now, Queen. I'm glad to hear that, Tanisha. Therapy is a safe, unbiased place. You better believe it. All right, let's get into it. It's affirmation time. Let's go. Let's go. Repeat after me. Say it like you mean it. I am so happy and